In the deep and often turbulent currents of the present age, where shadows lengthened and the world system groaned under an unseen weight, there existed servants of the Most High God, specifically tasked with the supernatural purpose of safeguarding and guiding the souls within this encroaching darkness. They were not the chosen ones themselves, a distinct lineage or collective set apart by divine covenant for a unique historical and spiritual destiny, but rather agents of the Most High, working in concert with or on behalf of the chosen, as directed by the divine will. Their mandate was clear, their abilities beyond the natural, and their loyalty solely to the one who reigns supreme. The Most High God, in this understanding, was the unnameable, the uncontainable, the Alpha and Omega of all existence, whose plans unfolded across epochs. As it is written, "The Lord brings the counsel of the nations to nothing. He frustrates the plans of the peoples. The counsel of the Lord stands forever, the plans of his heart to all generations." Psalm 33, 10-11. These servants were instruments of that eternal counsel, woven into the fabric of reality to execute his will in a world increasingly estranged from his light. The chosen ones, a concept deeply rooted in the Most High's historical dealings with humanity, served in this present age perhaps as anchors of faith, vessels of ancient wisdom, or beacons of hope. The servants, however, operated in a more direct, though often unseen, capacity. They were the quiet interventions, the subtle nudges, the moments of inexplicable protection. Their supernatural purpose was a multifaceted ministry in the spiritual and often the physical realms. Among these servants was a being known as Elara, not the same Elara of Ethel, but a designation of service. Her form was not fixed. She could appear as a fleeting light, a comforting presence, or in a guise that would least alarm those she sought to aid. Elara's primary purpose was direction. In a world filled with confusing voices and misleading paths, she guided those who were open to the Most High's leading towards truth and safety. This guidance was rarely overt. It might be a sudden, compelling thought to turn down a different street, an unshakable feeling of unease about a particular decision, or a vivid dream offering a symbolic warning or instruction. Her work was the practical outworking of Proverbs 16:9. "In their hearts humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps." Elara's touch was often the means by which those steps were subtly yet undeniably established. She remembered a young woman, lost and despairing in the labyrinthine alleys of a sprawling city, consumed by material excess and spiritual emptiness. The darkness clung to the buildings, a palpable oppression that sought to smother any flicker of hope. The woman was contemplating a path that would lead to ruin, a decision born of desperation and the whispers of destructive forces. Elara could not physically bar her way, for the Most High rarely overruled human will so directly. Instead, Elara intensified the woman's innate sense of longing for something more, amplifying the faint memory of a time when life felt less hollow. She orchestrated a seemingly random encounter with an old, kind street vendor who offered not just food, but a simple word of unexpected encouragement that resonated deep within the woman's soul. It was a small act, almost imperceptible in the grand scheme of the city's chaos, but it was enough to shift the woman's trajectory, a divine redirection facilitated by Elara. Another servant was known as Malkor. His purpose was protection. The present dark world system was not merely a metaphorical concept. It was influenced by forces actively hostile to the Most High and his creation. These forces sought to sow discord, incite violence, and crush the spirits of humanity. Malkor's role was to stand as a bulwark against these spiritual aggressions, a shield against the fiery darts of the enemy. His work often manifested as inexplicable Xing-yun-s, moments where disaster was averted by a fraction of a second, or a sudden clarity of mind in the face of overwhelming fear. He was a silent warrior in the spiritual battle described in Ephesians chapter 6:12. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms." Malchor once stood guard over a gathering of the chosen ones, who were meeting in a hidden place to share ancient texts and strengthen their connection to the source. Outside, the forces of darkness, alerted to their presence, stirred the hearts of those who were susceptible to their influence, inciting a mob mentality, a blind rage aimed at disrupting the sacred assembly. Malchor, unseen, moved among the gathering darkness, deflecting the most potent surges of malevolence, sowing seeds of confusion in the minds of the attackers, and creating subtle physical obstacles that delayed their advance. A sudden downpour that seemed to appear from a clear sky, a series of minor, improbable accidents that waylaid key instigators. These were Malchor's interventions, small miracles of protection that allowed the chosen ones to complete their gathering and disperse before true harm could befall them. He was the unseen hand that upheld, a living embodiment of the promise in Psalm 91:11, "For he will command his angels concerning you, to guard you in all your ways." Then there was Seraphina, whose purpose was illumination. In a world increasingly shrouded in confusion and misinformation, her task was to gently unveil truth, to plant seeds of understanding in hearts and minds that were receptive. She did this through inspiring moments of creativity, guiding the hands of artists to create works that resonated with divine beauty, influencing the words of writers to pen narratives that subtly pointed towards higher truths, or sparking moments of profound insight in the minds of thinkers and seekers. Her work was a manifestation of the Most High's desire for his truth to be known, a quiet echo of 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 9. He has saved us and called us to a holy life, not because of anything we have done, but because of his own purpose and grace. This grace was given us in Christ Jesus before the creation of the world. Seraphina helped to make that purpose and grace visible, even in a world that struggled to see beyond its own immediate concerns. She worked through a struggling musician, whose melodies, though technically simple, carried an inexplicable sense of peace and longing. Seraphina would touch the artist's spirit, guiding the composition of notes and harmonies that resonated with the deeper frequencies of existence, bypassing the logical mind and speaking directly to the soul. People who heard the music often felt a stirring within them, a sense of hope or a sudden awareness of a beauty they had forgotten existed. Seraphina's influence was the spark that allowed the divine light to filter through the mundane, offering glimpses of a reality beyond the present darkness. These servants of the Most High God did not seek recognition or praise. Their work was often thankless and invisible to the majority of humanity. They operated in the liminal spaces at the intersection of the spiritual and physical, their actions guided by a divine intelligence that saw the intricate connections of all things. They were not free agents, but completely yielded to the will of the one who had called them. Their communication with the Most High was a constant, silent communion, a perfect understanding of his desires and commands. Their connection to the chosen ones was a vital aspect of their ministry. The chosen ones, rooted in the world system in a way the servants were not, often served as focal points for the servants' work. Protecting a chosen one might have ripple effects that safeguarded many. Guiding a chosen one towards a specific action could unlock a chain of events beneficial to countless others. The servants saw the chosen ones as key pieces in the Most High's plan, and their service to them was a direct service to the divine purpose. The present dark world system was a formidable adversary, not in its physical might, but in its pervasive influence, its ability to blind, to deceive, and to discourage. It fed on fear, apathy, and division. But against this darkness stood the quiet, persistent work of the Most High's servants. They were the unseen guardians, the silent guides, the subtle illuminators. Their story is not one of grand battles fought with thunderous might, but of a continuous, patient ministry of grace and intervention. They were the living embodiment of the Most High's active presence in a world that often felt abandoned. Through Ilara's guidance, Malkor's protection, and Seraphina's illumination, and countless other servants with their unique purposes, the Most High God continued to work within the dark world system, directing his chosen and extending his grace to any who would receive it. Their supernatural purpose was, and is, the tireless pursuit of bringing moments of divine light and order into the chaos, ensuring that the path back to the source, though narrow, remained discernible for those with eyes to see and hearts willing to follow. And in their unseen efforts, the will of the Most High was being done, one guided step, one averted disaster, one illuminated truth at a time.